We are live with our Tennessee Tree Day Livecast. Thank you all for being here. And I know you're still joining, but we're going to go ahead and get started because this will be recorded and we want the recording to start right with the most important information, the beginning of our presentation, which is thank you all for being here and joining Tennessee Tree Day 2022. It's happening. It's like in full swing right now, I'll tell you that. The last couple of weeks before Tree Day are pretty crazy. As you can imagine, handling this year close to 75,000 trees that are coming from nurseries and going out all across Tennessee to the pickup sites, to the hubs and pickup sites, and we'll explain a little bit more of that later, but it's in full swing right now. And in all you all who are watching and tuning in and participating in this momentous event, which is our 8th annual Tennessee Tree Day 2022 is our 8th annual statewide tree planting event. So yeah, we've been doing this a few years, but it wouldn't happen without people volunteering, participating, helping out, making it happen from every end of the operation and down to the people that are planting trees next weekend, March 19th. So on our webinar, our live cast today, we have Gina Souders with the Department of Agriculture, Division of Forestry. We have Robert Elliott with Tennessee Urban Forestry Council and also the Division of Forestry, and myself, Jeffrey Berry. I'm the CEO of Tennessee Environmental Council. So what I'm going to do is show some slides and images and pictures, and then we'll introduce Robert a little bit later and Gina to do a little bit more about the trees themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. It's an exciting thing, and one important missing ingredient is Cynthia Hernandez, who is our tree program manager. You probably have seen her name. She will not be able to join us today, but she's a critical piece of making Tennessee Tree Day a success, as well as all of our staff. Gwendolyn Blanton, who is crunching numbers right now, preparing all the lists of participants. And then we got Brandy Pruitt on communications and marketing and everything. So Gina, Robert, you can see my screen, right? We're good?
Yep.
I'm gonna go into presentation mode here. Let's see, it's doing our full screen. Yeah, Tennessee Tree Day, that's the topic of the day. And we do this live cast just to give you all a sense of how it happens and who's behind the effort, who are the people behind it. And of course, we got in the picture here, someone picking up their trees. So there are many people involved. Oops, let me see. Okay, yeah, Tennessee Environmental Council, it's our idea. We're the ones who make it all happen from the start. Tennessee Environmental Council is a nonprofit organization. We were founded in 1970, based in Nashville, but we do work all across Tennessee. We aim to hit all 95 counties in the work that we do. And what is that work? Our mission, helping people and communities improve our environment. Pretty straightforward. But what is the environment? Well, we consider that thriving habitats, a circular economy, and climate balance in Tennessee. And trees hit a lot of that, really important in that vision. But we don't just do trees. We have some really cool programs. You can all plant a pollinator habitat through our Generate Some Buzz program. You can come out and help us clean up our streams and rivers through our watershed support program. We encourage everybody to start composting if you're not already doing that at home, through our Compost Your Compost program. And our Recycle Tennessee effort is growing by leaps and bounds this year, as we just received an EPA grant to do a series of community household waste cleanup events and recycling events across Tennessee in the next 2 years. So you'll be hearing more about that. But the topic of the day, and you can learn about all these programs at our website, tectn.org. But Tennessee Tree Day is the topic of the day. So we'll jump into that. Pardon me while I move our faces around. So the goal of the Tennessee Tree Program, this program was founded in 2007. And the goal was established of planting and caring for 1 million native trees in Tennessee by 2025. we're getting pretty close to that. Actually, we're probably going to hit that, which is a phenomenal effort that we made it that far. But the goal was established of engaging 50,000 Tennesseans in this effort. And we'll show you how many we've gotten so far in a couple slides down here. But to instill the value of urban and rural trees, trees are good anywhere. You might not want to put them in the middle of the street, but there are many places where trees are appropriate and needed in Tennessee. And essentially, it was initially founded to replace trees that are being lost to natural causes or human causes. Because if we're not replacing those trees that are getting cut down, then who's going to do it? But then to provide education as well on the value of those trees and how to do them, how to plant them and care for them. So Tennessee Tree Day is an outgrowth of the tree program. And we started doing the annual events, the annual Tree Day event in 2015, the statewide. And we aim to make it the largest tree planting day of its kind in the nation, in America. And as far as we know, the research we've done and the partners we work with, this is indeed the largest community tree planting event in the nation. So good job, Tennessee. And it is the day when Tennessee residents will pick up and plant almost 80,000 trees, native seedlings in all 95 counties in just about 10 days from today, March 19th, 2022. By the way, just last week, Governor Bill Lee signed the Tennessee Tree Day resolution that was passed unanimously by our House and Senate here in Tennessee, which declares the 19th as Tennessee Tree Day. So it is recognized by our state government. But how does it work? How does Tennessee Tree Day even happen? And I will go through the big I guess components are to get the funding to make it happen, because there's a lot of expense to make sure we get this many trees in the ground. Set up the infrastructure for tree distribution. We actually will begin that in May for next year. So almost a year ahead of time, we are setting up that infrastructure, which means I'll show you in the next slide actually how the infrastructure works. And to recruit and vet volunteer pickup locations, 130 of them this year, and to select the native trees that we're going to plant and offer to you all and place those tree orders. And so we are lucky to have Robert Elliott with the Tennessee Urban Forestry Council and the Tennessee Division of Forestry, who will talk about how the funding works, at least one opportunity for funding that's available to you as well in your communities. So Robert, do you want to talk briefly about that? And we can talk about the tree planting aspect a few slides down the presentation.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Get out of here so that you can take over the share screen.
Okay, okay. All right, let me share my screen.
While you're getting ready, Robert, let me go ahead and do a quick intro, because we actually started the tree program and the Tree Day with a grant from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, Division of Forestry. It's called the TAPE grant. That's the acronym, and Robert will explain how that's available for any community in Tennessee that wants to plant trees in the coming year. Take it away, Robert.
All right, can you see my screen all right, Jeff?
Yes.
All right, so like Jeff said, my name is Robert Elliott. I'm the Urban and Community Forestry Program Coordinator for the state. It's a unique partnership with TUFC, like Jeff said, the Tennessee Urban Forestry Council and Division of Forestry. But essentially, kind of my roles are for the state, coordinating statewide urban and community forestry program, coordinating with the internal staff. Big ones right here, though, providing community municipalities technical support, and then planning assistance, and also grant funding, like Jeff was just saying. So specifically, the grants kind of funding that kind of helped kick this thing off. The Tennessee Tree Day is a community tree planting program, which comes out of the, like Jeff was saying, the Tennessee Agriculture Enhancement Program. There's a lot of different funding out of that, but Essentially, this program was started by the 2008 state legislature. Essentially, the goal of these funds are to increase tree resource base in cities and towns across our entire state. So that's exactly what you guys are doing. You guys are getting ready for that big push to do a big planting. So, this is what the goals for this whole program are. So within the urban shop here at the Division of Forestry, that's kind of where we manage these funds. It's a yearly grant cycle. It's typically open from mid-April to June is kind of the grant application period. So we're getting ready to do kind of that here in just a couple of weeks. So we're going to be doing a kind of a webinar to kind of go over a little bit more of that. So if you would like, I'll drop a link to that in the chat here at the end, so you guys can register for that. It's just a 1 hour kind of quick update on what we're doing this year. And then the grant applications will be live come April 15th for funding opportunities. But yeah, it's a great opportunity to get some trees planted in the ground. And like Jeff said, this is kind of what helps kickstart this whole program. So I think that's all I have for my grant section.
Cool.
So
Cool. Thank you, Robert.
Let me stop sharing my screen.
Very good. And
I'm sure.
Excellent. I'll start sharing mine again. But before we do, I want to make a quick special announcement, because you all are, some of you may be pickup site leaders or hub leaders, or just participants that are going to pick up trees next week and plant at home or on your farm on tree day, which you could plant them early as soon as you get them. We encourage you to plant them as soon as you get them. In fact, Friday or Saturday. You don't actually have to plant them on Saturday, the tree day, although that's more fun when it all happens in one day. But I do want to share my screen and show you if you forgot where you're going to pick up your trees. We set up those 130 locations to make it as convenient as possible for you to find your trees. But I do want to just jump over to the TEC website. I put it in the chat, the link. It's tectn.org right there, /Tennessee Tree Day. And on there at the top is a map of all the pickup sites across Tennessee. These are the only places you can pick up your trees. So that narrows it down if you forgot where you're going to pick them up. But you will have a receipt in your inbox when you registered in your email inbox, and you might need to search for Flip Cause, which is the name of our processing software. But you can hover over any of these or click on one to find the pickup site address, and then what hours they're open. This one is in DeKalb County, Smithville, Tennessee. There's the address, 722 South Congress Boulevard. Pickup Friday, March 18th between 9 and 4, but not available Saturday. So you have to, if you live near there, chances are you chose that location. But each of these flags has that same information, and so we will be delivering trees and working the program next Thursday and Friday. So if you try to reach out to us, there might be a chance we're not going to be able to answer your call or answer an email. So we do ask that you, that's why we ask you to mark your calendar and your location when you register for those trees. That's the best place to find your local pickup location, right there. So I'm going to jump back to the presentation. Got it. And here are all of our lovely sponsors that make it possible. Division of Forestry right there in the, let me see, go back to present. So let's see. Division of Forestry, Department of Agriculture, National Wildlife Federation, Trees for Wildlife Program is a big sponsor. Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, Tractor Supply Company, Foundation is a new presenting sponsor this year. We all know Tractor Supply. Get your shovels from Tractor Supply, your mulch, your fence to put around your tree after you plant it. Wells Fargo signed on as a sponsor this year of the tree program, as well as our pollinator program and statewide recycling efforts and compost program. Bridgestone America's Trust Fund had pitched in. The Memorial Foundation is a longtime supporter. Tennessee Valley Authority, Sharing Change, which is Middle Tennessee Electric. And then lots of Penske donates the trucks so we can deliver those trees on Monday to all the hubs, and then where the pickup sites will be picking up the trees. So we got a lot of good sponsorship. Kimbrough Oil helps pay for the gas for those Penske trucks. And lots of smaller sponsors, which often are city stormwater agencies. Hey, by the way, 811, they are a sponsor, Atmos Energy. Make sure you call 811. You can just pick up your phone and dial 811, literally, and they will come out and look where your underground utility lines are on your property, so that you don't accidentally dig into a gas line or an electric line of some sort, or even a Google Fiber line, whatever it is. But please do that. It's very important that we don't mess up our utilities when we plant trees. So Tree Day, it's a big operation. And we keep the registration open from November through February, but we do close that registration several weeks before Tree Day for a number of reasons. And I will explain that. So in setting up Tree Day, we set up all these pickup locations the summer before. So this coming summer, we'll be setting up pickup locations for next year, and just keep an eye out for that. But there's 130 locations. These are all volunteer run locations. The people that are doing this, we don't pay them. They are doing it because they want to help this effort to get trees out. So we always encourage you to be nice. Most people involved in this are volunteering their time and energy. But these 130 locations are the pickup locations. We try to get one in every county. We have 90 counties represented here on the map, and we have actually 95 counties that are actually planting trees this year. But the trees that you're going to be planting that are going to be distributed to this location come from the nursery, two nurseries. One is in East Tennessee, right around here, Delano, Tennessee, just northeast of Chattanooga. The other is way up here off the map in Missouri Department of Conservation. So between those two nurseries, we have 80,000 trees on order, and they're going to go out on Monday. And we get to see a glimpse of one of those nursery operations right now, thanks to Gina Souders with the Tennessee Division of Forestry. Gina is the East Tennessee Nursery Manager. So I'm going to introduce you to Gina, and she will share her screen and show you some really cool images of how it works over there at the East Tennessee Nursery in Delano, Tennessee, right off the Hiwassee River. Take it away, Gina.
It is not going to let me share till you're not sharing.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. There we go. Kick me off.
Okay. There you go. And now it's off the screen, of course. Where'd you go, Zoom?
Uh-huh.
This worked perfect during trial.
Yes, of course. That's how it works. And by the way, if you do have questions and you're on the Zoom, go ahead and type them in the Q&A. We'll try to moderate both the chat and the Q&A.
I've lost you. I had you till you unsigned.
And Rick Williams asked a question. I'm going to go ahead and do our best to get the info you're asking for, Rick. Yeah, we'll track that down for you, and we will send you what you're asking for. Yeah, you're welcome. Gina, you ready? Gonna make it happen?
I've got it now. Yeah, we're with the East Tennessee Nursery. We're part of the Division of Forestry with the Department of Agriculture, and I'm going to kind of walk you through some of the processes before those trees become your new front yard shade. What we're seeing here is some of these trees, such as the hybrid chestnuts that we have that grow on the property here in Delano, have to be hand shucked. And you see he's wearing leather gloves.
Oh wait,
Sometimes
Gina,
they have to wear 2 pairs.
I'm not seeing
Yes.
your screen. You might need to try that again. Gina
Right.
has some really cool
Great.
stuff. We got to see the pictures, Gina.
Yeah, you got to be able to see the picture, and it's just not. Come on. Share.
There we go. Now we got it. Okay, now you're on.
Yeah, we got it. I apologize for that.
No problem. Ooh,
There we go. Can you see it now?
yes.
Okay,
The
good.
shucking is happening as in front of our
The
eyes.
shucking is happening. And those are sharp little barbs, just to let everybody know. That's a painful little process, even with gloves on. But I did want to show part of the process. You're going to see what we consider snowing here at the nursery.
Mhm.
If you watch these trees, this is a tree is being shaken. And this is a tulip poplar, your state tree. And these are all the seeds that are going down on nets that we'll retrieve. And it's are snowing here.
Yeah, that's cool.
But that's part of the process. We do have an orchard here. We're getting ready to put in another orchard to replace this one because trees do have a life cycle and they will start producing less seed as time goes on, as their life declines. So it's time to start putting in another crop of these so that we're ready for next year. Now, this year we did set up a new operation. It was the first year where we did a white oak acorn collection period from October 15th till November 15th. People could send or drop off or drop off with an area forester white oak acorns, just white oak, the Quercus alba only. There's some other white oak members of that family, but we're only looking for the Quercus albas. And you see that, I mean, we're collecting with nets. We have families out collecting by hand. We have foresters out on their hands and knees. We'll do whatever we can to get more acorns. And next year, we're going to be doing this again. And we're going to also include flowering dogwood and pawpaw seed. So if anybody out there wants something a little earlier in the year to help with these processes and getting the seed for the tree Tennessee Tree Day, this would help out a lot. We're looking for very mature seed, like the flowering dogwood. It's going to be a squishy seed by the time we want it. Same thing with the pawpaw. When we do get the seed, we have a machine that then sorts it. And this is so that, in theory, acorns of similar size should grow at similar rates. And if we put a little tiny seed acorn in with a great big acorn, the little acorn is going to be competed out. So if we can group them together, we get better survival, and your seedling that you're getting is a much higher quality because it's not had to fight to just barely survive. But as you see in the process, we've got quite a few acorns going through it, and then got a system for how we keep the process going. We also have to do a lot of maintenance on these trees. These are pines. Some of you did order some pines. They are planted very dense here at the nursery. We're looking at in a 1 foot long, 4 foot wide section. We're looking for like 80 trees to be in that. Is our goal. So they're grown very, very dense. And that's because we don't want the roots too big. And when you guys start planting them, you'll be glad we did this. This is the process we go through when it comes time to lift. We've got a machine that's going under the ground and lifting and shaking those trees to knock off as much dirt as we can, because they are all bare root and they're all 1 year old. Unless you do white pine, that's the only 2-year crop, and that's just because they just don't grow very fast. But you can see out in the field, we've got workers that we bring in to help us out, because there's only 8 people that work here producing 3 to 6 million seedlings. And so we have to call in a little bit of help when it comes time to lift these out of the ground, start putting them in the bags for you. As you see, they go in the bags, get put onto the tractor beds, and we bring them inside they're getting squirted down. You're going, when you get the bag and open it up, it should be moist inside. And that is a gel water that it really helps those roots survive this process. Cause I mean, they're really getting shocked when they get pulled out of the ground like this, and they get transported to your hub station on these racks. And you guys this year are getting them in bags of 25. Is how we ship them out. So they get to do the creative financing at all the hubs of figuring out how to break this down. Now, when you get your seedling, this page is like the most important one to me out of everything here. This is when you get them. This is a living, breathing creature. And it needs to go in the ground as soon as possible. That's real important. But when you're transporting it and you're caring for it, make sure that it's not a freezing day and you're throwing it in the back of the pickup truck to ride in high winds and cold weather. You're reducing your survivorship of those seedlings big time. And as you can see here, bare root seedlings, temperature exposure, it doesn't take much to receive damage when those seedlings are in weather below freezing or above like 50, 60 degrees. They're starting to get damage. And so damage means less survivorship. And that's what we want to avoid. We want you guys to have everything you plant survive and make it. Transporting on a cool day is not suggested, making sure they're covered from the wind. They should not be allowed to freeze or bake in the sun. And this includes when you go out to plant them. When you open that bag, take only out what you can plant in like 10, 15 minutes and roll that bag back up. Make sure that those seedlings and roots are not being allowed to dry out. And bare root seedlings need to be planted during our dormant season. We're just getting ready to come out of that. So that's why this is done. This is the end of the season. Normally we're getting better conditions to be able to plant in. So we hope everybody has a good time planting and enjoys it. And that is what I have for that.
Hey, thank you so much, Tina. That's great. Now, I'm going to undo my cool background here, but that is an important, because I want to show you a real bag of trees that has just come from the nursery. These arrived on my doorstep just yesterday. Yeah, I went out for a minute for a presentation, came back home, and there was a whole bunch of trees on my front porch, like thousands of trees. Okay, in these bags right here. So this is one of the tree bags that we get from the Missouri nursery. The ones from the East Tennessee nursery are going to go direct to the communities on Monday, and then on Tuesday and Wednesday next week, the pickup sites will pick them up from the hubs and take them back to their pickup site so that participants can pick them up on Friday and or Saturday. So that's the timeline for next week, but this is these are the trees. This is a bag of 100 redbuds, eastern redbuds, that are one of the species we offer. And by the way, there are some good questions coming up in the chat here. I will get to those after our presentation part. I did strap these so that I could open it up and show you the roots as they're packaged there. And so a bag of 100 redbuds here. Now, I am already getting uncomfortable keeping it open this long. And when I'm done with this presentation, I'm going to go back outside and dunk them into a 5-gallon jug of water or a 5-gallon bucket of water. But when you're not handing over a tree to a participant or putting it in the ground, keep those roots covered up like that, even for a minute, right? So just open it up to get the tree out and wrap it back up immediately. And so that's how to handle these trees for survival. And we do something like 80,000 trees this year. And historically, we have about a 80% survival rate. So even with all that coming out of the ground at the nursery, going into bags, going to 130 locations, and all that process still results in significant high rates of survival. But ultimately, the survival is increased when you handle them properly. If you are a participant picking up your trees next week from your local site, depending on how many trees you have, you can get one or even several in fact, I can get 25 redbuds in this bag right here. So bring some plastic used grocery bags and a Sharpie marker so you can mark the species on there. That is if they're not pre-bundled. Some locations will pre-bundle their trees with the species and everything labeled. So if you have that, then you're in luck. But I encourage you, because we don't know if they're going to be pre-bundled or not. So bring a bunch of plastic bags because they keep it really well sealed. They protect the roots. Stick your seedlings in there, kind of gently wrap the roots around like that. You get some masking tape to put around the top so that the roots are underneath here, and the stem, the trunk is out on the top. And then
I'm also going to throw in, to add to yours, when they're handling them, try to hold it by the top of the stem, not by the roots. Your hands will cook them, and we don't want to cook those roots.
Excellent, thank you. I'm so glad we have experts here on this presentation. So thank you, Gina. Please interrupt me anytime with important information like that. But you will keep it in your bag. It is always good when you get your tree from the participant, if you can, dunk it in some water before you put it in the plastic bag. It just gives it a little bit extra moisture. And then you can take them home. If you can plant them right away, that's better. If you're not going to plant them right away, put those bags in a cool location in the shade, not in the sun, so that as soon as you do plant them, they are in good condition. So I'm going to go back to my presentation here, share my screen again. And we're going to get to how to plant that tree here in a moment. So share screen so I can get back and show you some more cool slides. Got it. So that was Gina. Let's do presentation mode here. Oh. Well, I will just move forward. I lost my little button to present, but you can see the slide. So you will look for this sign when you go to pick up your trees. We're emailing all these lists out today and tomorrow. If you are a pickup site leader and you haven't seen your pickup site or your participant lists yet, we are working on those right now. Literally, we have staff compiling those lists and formatting them so that they look nice when you receive them. You'll get them by email tomorrow along with a sign. So participants will look for the pickup site, the tree day logo with the arrows, bring the plastic bags, one per species, newspaper or towels to wrap the roots in are helpful as well, especially if they're moistened, tags or a Sharpie marker to label your seedlings with, and your order printed out or on a smartphone. Your pickup site will have your name and what species you ordered and how many trees you're getting. So we want you to double check your order, make sure you get only the trees that you ordered, because we have a very thin margin. There's not really very little margin for error. So if you end up picking 5 red buds instead of 4, chances are someone's not going to get the red bud they asked for and also made a donation to get it. So only take what you ordered, what's on the list. And pickup site leaders are volunteers, so play nice out there. And we still are coming out of the COVID era, hopefully becoming endemic rather than pandemic. But I personally know of people that have COVID right now, and also others who have died recently because of COVID. So it's still a serious issue. Please be mindful. Wear a mask if it's appropriate. Maintain the physical distance, and keep that in mind when you go pick up your trees. How to properly plant and care for your trees. Okay, I'm going to show a short video, the video we produced last year, which is on our website. Again, I'll put it in the chat, but it is tectn.org right here. So I'm going to go ahead and show this video we produced on how to plant and care for your bare root seedlings.
Today we're going to show you how to plant a bare root seedling for Tennessee Tree Day. The trees that you get for Tree Day are bare root seedlings, which means the roots are exposed. So it is vital that you keep the roots wrapped and moist at all times. I'm going to go ahead and unwrap these roots and place it in water until I get my hole dug. When choosing the location to plant your tree, it's important to consider how big your tree will get. Today we're planting a northern red oak, which will get up to 75 feet tall and 45 feet wide. So it's important that we plant it away from power lines. Now we're ready to dig our hole. The hole should be at least as wide as a dinner plate and deep enough to cover all the roots, about a foot deep. What I'm doing right now is removing the soil from the grass before I place it back into the hole. Now we're going to put the tree into the ground. This is the root ball, and it's important to plant the root ball level with the ground. And now just fill in the hole with the dirt you removed. Gently tamp the soil down. Now we're going to spread some mulch around the tree in a donut shape to prevent weed growth and retain moisture. We don't want our mulch piled up against the trunk because it can cause rot. Now we're going to thoroughly water our tree. Now we're going to place this tubing around the trunk of our tree to help protect against weed eaters and lawnmowers. They're one of the biggest hazards to newly planted trees. And we're done.
Tennessee Tree Day is brought to you by Tennessee Environmental Council in partnership with Tennessee Division of Forestry.
And I will just remind you, all that's on our website, tectn.org, so you can watch that video another time if you'd like. And I'm going to hand it back over to Robert, who's going to share his screen and talk a little bit more about that planting and caring.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, is it working correctly?
Yep, it is.
Perfect. All right. So this is just kind of a quick recap of what we just saw in the video, as well as kind of some of the things we've talked about today on protecting our seedlings when we get them, as well as planting, kind of just reminders and refreshers. Okay, so okay. So like Gina was saying, when we get them, you want to, protect them. Our seedlings, they are very delicate living creatures, essentially. Reminder, right tree, right place. We're going to be going over how to dig holes, placing the tree, filling the holes, and kind of general maintenance real quick. So we want to keep them shaded, keep them moist, keep them out of high wind, direct sun, heat, all that good stuff. Going over right tree, right place, when you want to think of what kind of species you're going to get, what kind of water they need, what kind of light they need, where they're going to fit in your landscape. Are they good for your soils? All different types of trees need kind of different things. Also spacing. So if you want a good yard tree, you want to think about that, or you're growing trees for a different reason. There's all different types of spacing needs. As well as, utility lines and overhead and underground. So you want to think about that. Good reminder, think about calling 811 every time you want to dig into your yard. It's always good to call them before to make sure you don't have any issues with that. As well as your overhead, you don't want to plant a tree that's right under the utility line. And then when it gets nice and mature, they're going to come and do what they need to do to protect safety of the workers, as well as keep the power on. So most utilities have certain distances for certain trees, spacings away from their power line. So it's always good to reach out to your utility company to kind of figure out what those are. Will help you kind of put trees in your yard for right tree, right space, or right place. All right, so Jordan was going over depth of the hole, width of the hole. So these are just some kind of good reminders you want to look for. Making sure you're not burying that root flare. You don't want to bury your seedlings too deep in your trees. Because that's not good. You want to make sure they have enough room for their roots to grow when they are starting to get established. This is a quick infographic on kind of what that could look like. You dig in the hole, you're placing the seedling in it, and then you want to gently kind of backfill it in. You don't want to smash it down too hard, because then you could break some of the roots, but as well as, making it too tough. You don't want to create, also, you don't want to create any air pockets in there, because that's also not good for the roots. So be very delicate when you're kind of tamping it down and making sure you're planting it correctly, and just be gentle with it. So when you're digging your hole, let's see what else we got. So when you're actually placing the tree in it, you want to inspect the roots, make sure you don't have any girdled roots or anything like that. Most likely not, but just in case, you can prune those if needed. Make sure when you plant it in the hole, you plant it straight. You don't want it, if you plant it at an angle, it's going to grow that way essentially. So you want to make sure it's straight. It's not too deep. We don't want to prevent, like I said earlier, placing the root flare in too deep, as well as J-rooting. These were planted too deep, so they kind of grew that way. So that's not good for the trees. Checking the width as well is good. So kind of went over this earlier. When you backfill in those holes, you don't want it too loose or too firm. You want to make sure it's just right. Good for the roots, soil structure, no air pockets. The roots have room to grow. They're not too deep. And then, like Jordan was saying, it's always good to kind of mulch it, and protect it. So kind of some good maintenance tasks as you're going, mulching it, protecting it from bugs in the event those, we have big cicada outbreak. You're protecting with one of those tubes that goes around them. Let's see, you're watering it right as soon as possible. And just, another good idea is if you're planting in kind of an open field, putting some flagging in it, because you might lose those trees when you're planting, or any kind of identifying marker out there, so you can protect your trees as best as possible. Let's see, I think that might be it. Yep, that's it.
Cool. Thank you, Robert.
Cool. So let me stop sharing.
And I will start sharing. There's some really good questions on here. And one question that's very relevant is, can you dig your hole before you even go get your trees? Yes, you can dig your hole now. We always encourage you to call 811 first, so you don't hit a utility line. But if you already have it marked and you know where your lines are, you can go ahead and dig out the dinner size plate hole about a foot deep. And so that way, when you get your trees, all you got to do is take them out of the bag, drop them in, fill in the soil gently, and tamp it down a little bit, and you're good. So yeah, that's a good question. And I'll get to more of your questions at the end of the presentation here. Another question was, how many species do we offer? How do we select the species? And Gina did answer some of that a little bit. But we have, I think, 10 to 12 species, depending on pickup site right now, available. These are always native. We always aim for native trees that are indigenous to this area, so they will survive, and we are supporting the local ecosystem better that way. But we always look at what's available, and the nursery determines most of that. And we try to offer some of the favorite trees that people like every year. We always bring those back and try to add some new ones. So we're always adding something to the diversity of our environment as well. And it's really a subjective process, what people like and what's going to be best for the ecosystem, and also what's available. So I'll go ahead and jump back to my presentation here. Get out of that. So back to Canva here. So thank you, Robert, for how to. Benefits of Tree Day. Wow, trees are so important to our environment. Absorb carbon, produce oxygen. I mean, they breathe the opposite the way we do. So, but I don't know what percentage of the oxygen on planet Earth is provided from trees, but it is significant. And one tree, a mature tree, provides enough oxygen year-round to feed a family of 4. So they are very important, and they cool they cool our communities, and they reduce flooding. They infiltrate more water, keep our streams cleaner, and a general sense of improved quality of life. And I could go on and on and on for the benefits of trees, but they're only a benefit if you put them in your yard. So thank you for signing up to do that. I said earlier our goal was to have 50,000 volunteers in planting those million trees. Well, we've now have over 100,000 volunteers since 2015, and which we're going to top 800,000 trees during this in 10 days. We will have surpassed 800,000 trees planted since 2007. So we should be able to hit a million by 2025. And we will send follow-up surveys to you once a year to ask if your tree is surviving. So please always respond to that so we can gauge the survival. But as you can see in this picture here, those trees grow fast. Here's a participant who planted a tulip poplar, and it is already taller than him. And that was within 2 years of him planting that. And as you all know, you made a donation. Thank you for your donations, by the way. When you ordered your trees, when you reserve them through us, that allows us to plant more trees, to get the word out wider, and place more ads in newspapers. So you're basically supporting the effort to expand the program as those donations come in. So thank you. The more donations we receive, the more trees we can plant. We actually added to our tree orders because we were getting enough donations in. And we were able to call up Gina and say, hey, do you still have more red buds and red mulberries? And so she would add that to our order because those trees were moving really well. So we would move into some Q&A here, and I'm going to go ahead and type our website in there again in the chat so you have it at your fingertips. Stop sharing again. And I'm going to look at the chat. Jump in there. Type my email address, or not my email, but our website, tectn.org/Tennessee Tree Day. Oh, that was only to one person. Let me make sure I get everybody on that. tectn.org/Tennessee Tree Day. Okay, so I'm just going to go through some of these questions. Yeah, there's some people want to collaborate with some of their local organizations, and we're always collaboration is what makes this possible. So yeah, please reach out to us directly on that. Someone lost their tree day information because they switched computers in the last few months, so we will do our best to track your info down and get you that. And let me make sure I got your name. And what are the trends on tree purchases in these efforts? Do they increase every year or vary year to year? So 2 years ago, in the darkness of the COVID, when the lockdown was happening, that was March 2020, we were actually able to pull off tree day, but it did make it more challenging. Most of the locations stayed open, and we just practiced social distancing because all those locations are outdoors. But we did have to make some adjustments. We ended up doing 42,000 trees that year, even as the lockdown was taking place. But if it had been a couple of weeks later, we might have had to cancel those events. So thankfully, the timing worked out for us. And since that 42,000 trees, we did 60,000 the next year, and now we're up to close to 80,000 this year. So the numbers are going up significantly. Yeah, and if you have more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Yeah, someone had actually not a question, but a good suggestion, in that when they pick up their trees, they put them in a bucket of water. And that does help give those roots a boost of water before you plant them. But you don't want to leave them in there for too long, like hours, for example. But yeah, it is actually a really good idea to dunk them in water, give them that saturated moisture before you put them in the ground, especially if it's going to be several minutes or up to an hour or two before you actually get them into the ground. So do we have the same trees every year? I think I already answered that. Someone said they did have some trees that didn't make it, even though they took really good care of them. So we will do our best to work with you on that. And of course, we always we put it out there front and center about how important it is to take care of the roots and make sure they don't get dry. And we will also send alerts if it, as Gina was saying in a planning meeting earlier, we get enough rain in Tennessee to where you don't have to put a lot of water on these trees. Once they're in the ground, during the rainy season, like right now, the ground is pretty saturated. So there's plenty of moisture in the ground, and it's probably going to rain a little bit on tree day weekend. So we do recommend putting some water in right after you plant them to help the roots get settled in. But then you shouldn't need to water it until we have a drought this summer in July or August, when it's 95 degrees or 100 degrees and it hasn't rained for a week. That's the time to water them. 3 gallons a week is enough to keep them moist so they don't die in the heat. But once they get the first 2 years are critical to pay attention to those heat waves. But after that, they should be able to survive on their own with no additional watering. Thank you for that, Gina. Some good info. Yeah, you can dig holes ahead of time. Species offered vary year to year. I did put my, you can email me at jeff@tectn.org if I don't cover your questions. And we're going to wrap it up here in a minute. How do you ensure there are no air pockets when you plant the trees? Just the looser the soil, the better when you put it back in. If you're putting in clumps of soil, then there's chances of there being air pockets in the hole, the tree hole. So make sure it's loose soil that you're putting back in there. And you can generally see if something's going to, like a clump is going to be leaned up there and there's going to be an air pocket. So just pay attention when you drop that seedling in there, or gently place it in there, not drop it. And you will not need to fertilize your tree. Someone asked if we need to fertilize them. No. I mean, there's certainly products you can buy to feed trees, but these are well adapted to our climate, our environment, so no fertilizer necessary. Now, if you have heavy clay soil, you might want to condition the hole a little bit before you put the seedling in there. Condition it by putting maybe a potting soil mix or something like that in there.
Yeah, you might also want to break it up a little, because it could retain some water, being clay. So you might want to break up around it when you're digging that hole. Break it, with a mattock or your shovel. Try to break it up a little bit to help with some of that drainage too.
Cool. Now, someone asked if we can review quickly what to bring when you pick up your trees. I'll do that. Change my background. But most important, bring something to put your trees in, the plastic bags. If you have a lot of trees, some people actually ordered 50 or more trees, you would need to bring a larger packaging to put the roots in. Bring a Sharpie to label your bag with the species. You could bring some paper towel or newspapers and moisten those before you put them in the bag, and wrap the roots before you put them in the bag. It's an option. It's not necessary, but it does help to retain the moisture around those trees. Okay, well, I'm going to say that's it. We've covered looks like the most important questions, or the ones that I was able to see. If I didn't get your question, I apologize. Yeah, feel free to reach out to our staff. Check our website for more information if we didn't answer your questions. There's another question. What is optimal spacing for 2 pawpaw seedlings? I would say probably 10 to 20 feet, because those are smaller trees and they do cross-pollinate, which will give you fruit, but at least 10 feet apart. Thank you for participating in Tennessee Tree Day. Good luck. Have fun out there next week. Thank you to all our sponsors and collaborators that make this possible, and all of you, our participants. And on that note, I will go ahead and click end. Take care, everybody. Happy Tree Day next weekend.